Borada. Lovely to see you all. And who's ready to have some fun today? Yeah? Well, let's try that again. Who's ready to have some fun today? Fantastic. So we're not just going to have some fun. We're actually going to go through a process that you can take away and try out in your own organizations. And along the way, I'm going to give you a chance to start processing and making sense of what you have learned this week. So I came here in 2019 for the first time, and I did a similar talk called The Power of Play. And since then, the world has fundamentally changed. As Kerry was just saying, there's COVID, there's been lots of wars, turbulence, et cetera, et cetera. And this technique and this whole week, I think, is really, really powerful to help you think about what does courageous leadership look like? What does connected leadership look like? What does collaborative leadership look like in your organizations? And so we're going to get a chance to explore a little bit of that. But before we get into that, I'm going to touch on a little bit of the background of Lego, the Lego Serious Play approach, the underlying theory. Not going to get into the dry bit. And then we're going to have some fun with the Lego. So everyone should have a bag of Lego. Can everyone hold up the bags of Lego? Fantastic. Nice, nice. Just hold that. I just want to get a quick photograph of that, if that's okay. Keep on juggling. Keep on juggling. There you go. Fantastic. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, happy memories for myself in a few years' time anyway, certainly. So I want you to, first of all, step back into your childhood. And just like this young lady up on the screen who's playing dress up as a superhero, what kind of games did you play in your childhood? Just shout them out loud. Tag? Hide and seek, yeah? British Bulldog, oh, nice. A little bit of risk in there, yeah, I like it. Kirby? I'll have to come and speak to you about that one. I don't know that one. I may have a different name for it, but good, yeah. What else? Rounders, yeah, good fun. Nice. Stuck in the mud, yeah. And I hear some of you have been playing wiffle ball this past week, yeah? Yeah, a good cohort of you. And I've been having wonderful conversations with a number of you last night. And you'll see maybe some of the words that we're going to come up on the later slides will be from those conversations. And one of them is wiffle ball, of course. So what this slide is really about is just recognizing that play is not something that you do for fun. Actually, play has significant value. It's not simply a bonus. And the research really supports that. It really says that play allows us to develop new skills, negotiate different roles. It allows us to learn how to be adaptive, because all the games that we played when we were younger, they would ebb and flow and change on the spur of a moment, allowing us to build these skills as we went along. So play itself has intrinsic value. What about play at work? Well, this is the potentially dry bit, so I'm not going to get into all the theory, but there's a number of professors that work with Lego to develop the Lego Serious Play approach. And there's a number of theories and isms that underpin it. So there's everything from motivation theory, theory of flow, complex adaptive systems theory, and many more. And so for those who are interested, I did share a briefing with Academy of Wales. I think it's all been sent out. Maybe you haven't read it all, that's okay. Have a look at that. That touches on some of those, and then Google away to your heart's content. But for everyone else, the only bit I really want to focus on is the neuroscience bit. Because when we play, it releases dopamines in our brains. And that dopamine leads to joy. When we're feeling joyful, we have greater focus. Our anxieties go down, our stress goes down. We have better memory, so our working memory improves, and we're much more creative, much more open to conversations, much more open to difference. So play leads to high performance at work, and particularly with teams. We're all working in an increasingly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. So we use the VUCA acronym, and I think everyone probably knows that here. But as leaders, whether you're public sector or private sector, or whether you're third sector, you're all working with factors that are impacting you, making life a lot more difficult. Whether it's increasing demand on your services, or whether it's reducing budgets, or you just can't get the workforce. we're living in a turbulent world, and Dr. Stuart Brown from the National Institute for Play says, play is our natural way of adapting and developing new skills. It's what prepares us for emergence and keeps us open to new opportunities. So the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence itself, it's not stepping out with courage. I'll say that again. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence itself, but not stepping out with courage. So for those who have read the briefing, you'll see the definition, and here it is for those who haven't. Very simple. Lego Serious Play is an innovative and highly effective facilitation methodology designed to enhance creative thinking, improve team collaboration, and augment business performance. And ultimately, it releases the energy in your people. It gets them deeply engaged, more motivated, more connected, more creative, helping them to co-create a shared future or make sense of their present. And just in a few moments, you'll be making sense of all that you've learned this week in a model of Lego. Lots of organizations have used LSP or Lego Serious Play. Some of these are mine, some of these are part of my wider network. And we've used it in so many different ways, whether it's organization design for a whole organization or part of it, whether it's launching a team and helping people to share what kind of environmental factors in the team would allow them to thrive. Whether it was coaching with a senior leader at a motor manufacturer who didn't know why her performance was lacking, and then I used Lego in a coaching session to help her recognize that she had built barriers around herself. And those barriers had gone back to her childhood, where she realized that she always saw herself as the child and not the adult. And so she put up these barriers to protect herself from her peers and from others at work, and that was limiting her performance. And so we've used it in so many different ways across many, many organizations. A couple of key assumptions or principles behind Lego Serious Play. And one is the power of collaboration. So we're living in this VUCA world. And as leaders, because things are changing so quickly and things are so complex, no one individual can know it all. We each have a street corner. And as you can see on this city block, there's two very different street corners. One is a much more austere, grandiose corner, and the other's much more vibrant, energetic, bright, creative. And if those two people didn't come together and talk about that, they wouldn't have a fuller appreciation of the whole. And so the whole can only be understood by the many. So bringing people together to get each other to share their perspectives of the organization or the ecosystem, whether it's the NHS or whether it's central government, local government, or third sector, or across the piece. It's about coming together and sharing your perspectives so that together you can make a better decision by understanding the whole. The second really harkens back to my chemical engineering days, and it's really about recognizing that there's no simple formula for success. What worked before doesn't work anymore. Things are changing too quickly. We can't just say, well, I tried that before and it'll follow the same pattern and therefore I'll get the same result. Things are changing so quickly, so it's got to be much more in the experimental space. What we need to do as leaders there is create a safe space in which people feel like they have a voice, a democratic space in which everyone's voice is equal, they can be creative, and they can experiment and try things out, whether it's as an individual or as a team or as a whole organization. You need to create that space and allow people to be curious and have that learning that they can take forward. It's a little story, and this is really a story about a young woman's journey where she started really resistant at the back of the room, arms folded, not really wanting to engage, all the way to the other side where she was really advocating for the change. And what we did was, this is a German pharmaceutical company that asked us to help them. They said, we've bought this site in France. We've bought it from the competition. The competition decided to exit that part of the pharmaceutical industry. But this site has a very traditional, unionized culture. It's one that was work to rules. If it wasn't on the job sheet, it didn't get done. People were demotivated, disconnected, disengaged. There's a high turnover of staff, lots of temporary staff around. And they said, we need to turn this site into the linchpin of our supply chain globally. This has got to be a site that is a 21st century focus, one where people are excited to come into work, who are deeply engaged, who have meaningful work, people who want to make a difference, who are constantly trying to change and improve. That was that transition that they really wanted. And we said, the way that we think we can make the biggest difference is using one of the most powerful interventions that we have, and that is called Lego Serious Play. And they're like, okay, we've never tried it. Let's have a go. So there was some courage by the site director, the most senior person on site, saying, never done this before, heard of Lego, bit scared, but let's try it out. Let's experiment. Let's be curious. Let's see how it works out. Now, of course, there's a French-English difference. And so if people felt like it, they could be quite defensive. They could sit down and just sit at the back and use French as a defense mechanism to say, well, I don't understand. We did have translators in the room, of course. So this young lady, at the beginning, laying the foundations workshop, there she was at the back, not really wanting to engage. The second workshop, so we visited the site 6 times in all, as you can see, lots of conversations on Teams in between. The second workshop was where we brought out Lego, and we said, okay, let's get everyone to create a shared vision of what they think the future should look like. What is going to be successful for you? Let's create a model of that. And they created a model, and you can see some of them down here at the bottom there. There's about 20 people in the room. And so there's 20 individual models describing their shared future. And what it did was it allowed people to have voice, whereas before they always thought the manager must tell me. I can't do anything, or I don't want to do anything until someone tells me. This is about engaging them in a conversation. Now, as babies, we interact with the world with our hands and feet before we speak. And so when you start getting your hands on stuff, they start doing things. Has anyone started playing with a Lego yet? Just want to check. Yeah, there you go. Who's playing with a pen or talking about something? Someone's holding a flask. You know, maybe gently rubbing it, but you know. Maybe he's really enjoying his coffee. But we're always doing something with our hands, I find. And that's our way of kind of processing things. And so when you have Lego in front of people and they start playing with it and you give them a question to answer, they then start to build things. And there's intrinsic knowledge that they don't even think about goes into the model, and then they get to tell the story of the model, and suddenly they're like, oh, I didn't realize I did that. It's something new. It's going back to that coaching conversation that I was telling you about. She didn't realize that she had built a barrier around herself. When she was building the model, she wasn't thinking about what she was building, and then she stepped back and went, I've built a wall around myself. Why? And then we got to process. So that often happens with Lego. You build things in that are intrinsic in your knowledge that you don't really think about. It's not front of mind, but it's there. And so by bringing those individual models together into a shared model that you can see up there, what we did is we took video, we took audio, we got them to write down the descriptions of it. Now it's in French and the photograph's a little bit pixelated, so you won't be able to read it too well. But it describes the overall way of working and the key principles, the design principles, because this was an organization design project that was having a huge impact on culture. And that really released this young woman. She suddenly heard her own voice and felt that she had equal power to everyone else, that she could co-determine the future with her colleagues. It wasn't that there was going to be one person at the front saying, you're going to do this, get on with it. It was, we're deciding on our future together. And so she moved quite fundamentally in that workshop. And then increasingly, because all our workshops are very collaborative, even if we don't use Lego, all the way through, right up until the end, in the last bit was probably just before review and evaluation, where they did a pitch to the senior leadership on site. Now before, she probably wouldn't have even looked at these people in the eye. She'd be too intimidated. They're up there and I'm just a lowly operator. What can I do? And there she was at the front saying, this is the way forward, advocating her future, saying, this is what myself in the people I represent, my operators and my operator peers really want for the future. This, we think, is going to be successful, and it's going to allow us to have meaningful work and have a huge impact on the organization. And it did. Their productivity went up 150% on the first pilot, and it's just continued to go because they've got multiple lines. We tried it on one, and the next, and the next. So that experimental test and learn, try as you go, build, improve, improve, improve. So that's a bit of a story about how we've used Lego and how it's really fundamentally shifted the culture and the mindset of that pharmaceutical manufacturing site. And here's some happy words from the site director, the person that commissioned us in the first place and was the most senior person on the site. And he says, "I was thrilled to see and hear after just a couple of weeks how things started to move in the minds of the involved colleagues. And I was impressed by their willingness to develop their own future and embrace change." So very quickly, in just a few weeks. So we're going to get into the Lego in a moment. And in a sec, I'm going to get you to open those bags if you haven't already. But at the heart of Lego Serious Play is this process. It goes challenge, build, share, reflect. I'm going to give you a challenge. It may be a question, maybe a statement, maybe a word, maybe a phrase. You're going to build using the Lego in that bag to respond to that challenge. You're then going to share amongst your table the story of your model. And then you're going to collectively reflect at your table about what you've learned about that person, their model, the story of the model, and any particular insights, what's common, what's different, what you're curious about. But to do that, and I know there's quite a lot on your tables, I'm going to ask you to do a few things just to help. Try and clear as much space for yourself. If you need to push stuff into the center of the table. Because what you want to be able to do is have space to build, and also space so you can see each other's models. What I'm also going to ask you to do is when I give you the question or the statement, what I don't want you to do is to sit there having a meeting with yourself, trying to work out how you're going to build the model. Is just trust your hands. Like I was saying, when you're a baby, you started moving things together. You started playing with the world with your hands, and just trust your hands. Start building things. The next one is interpret the question as it makes sense for you. Don't sit there thinking, what does this question mean? Just think, I think this is what it means, and that's what I'm going to build. Tell the story of your model. So what you don't want to be doing is have an eye-to-eye conversation with your colleagues. What you want to be doing is pointing at the model and everyone else's eyes on the model, because you're telling the story of the model. So that means that other people who are listening with their eyes. They're watching the story evolve from the model and are being curious about it. And that leads to the last section, last point, which is seek to understand other people's models. Don't tell them what their model is or isn't. Maybe just be curious. What does that mean? You didn't talk about this part of the model. Can you share a little bit more? And that helps people to unpack their story a bit further. So does everyone understand the basic guidance? Okay, good stuff. So we're going to go into a skills development cycle quite quickly. There'll be 3 parts to it: technical skills builds, metaphorical, using metaphors, and storytelling. And that's just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, everyone's got the same level or type of skills. But can I just get a quick check? Who's played with Lego before in their life? Okay, and there's still some people that haven't, and that's okay. Now's your chance. Welcome to the world of Lego. Let's open up those bags if you haven't already. Pour them out in front of you. Is everyone, the speaker table on my left here, could I actually ask you to distribute yourself? Because that'll actually be easier if there's a couple of places here and a place there, because then we've got equally numbered tables. And that, because part of the process that the tables go through the process about the same time, if that's okay. So we just have equally numbered tables or there or thereabouts. So who's already started ordering their Lego? Yeah. That's an interesting insight. You can reflect on that, Others who are at the tables, maybe you've decided just to leave it a mess, and that's also an interesting insight. So just think about what we do with these things when you're given a bag of Lego. Has anyone organized by color? By shapes? Yeah. So there's different ways of organizing. We could use that as an entry into organization design, but that's another story. Okay, so the first skill that we're going to learn is technical skills. Well, this is just about how do you put things together. So I'm going to put a task up on the screen, and I want you to follow that task. And I'll make sure that I'm out of the way so people can see. So here it is, using only the black base plate and green and orange bricks, build a tower with a flower on top of it. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and I'm going to be really strict. I will give you warnings as we get closer to 2 minutes. So 2 minutes, starting now. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's stop where we are. Even if you haven't completed, it's okay. It's just about getting to use those skills. So let's have a little bit of at each of your tables. I want you to the whole table needs to take about 30 seconds for this. I just want you to say what you think the core idea or about your model is. Is it that it's strong? Is it tall? Is it colorful? Is it patterned? Or just very quickly. So have at it. 30 seconds, just describe your model around your table. Has everyone had a chance to share what their model is, their main characteristic? Okay. Could I just check in with people? Whose main characteristic was tall? So tall was there. What about stable? Was their main characteristic stable? Okay. What about even cantilevered, where you got bits overlapping and hanging off the edge? Oh, some cantilevered as well. I like it. What about a pattern like a yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green, or something like that? Oh, a few of you as well. Did anyone use the flag instead of the flower? Oh, nice. Did everyone use all the green bits or only some of the green? All the green bits? Nice. Some of the green bits? Yeah, so we all interpret the question differently. Now, the question is, are these all towers? Yes, they are. Are they all the same? No, because we're all diverse. We all have our different backgrounds. I've lived in Zimbabwe, grew up in South Africa. I have a very different perspective in the world compared to yourself. So I started as a chemical engineer. I'm now in organization design and play with Lego. So of course, I have a different perspective to yourselves, whereas you may have lived in Wales most of your life or all of your life or come from different parts of the world. So we each bring our perspective, personal, professional, and experiential. And so we build that into our models. Okay. So let's move into the next. I just need to borrow this little bit here. So I'm going to hold up this little yellow bit here. You won't see it on the screen, but it's the yellow brick that's got 4 bits on the top and it's got a slopey face to it. So this is about, let's come back to that in a sec. So what I want you to do at the tables, just to reflect on what you've created and have a bit of a chat about the models at your table. What's common, what's different, what do you see in each other's models? What have you learned about the person as they've built the model? So I'll give you 2 minutes for the at the most for that. So 2 minutes, if you begin. All right, if we can just pause the conversations there for a moment. Just pause those conversations. Okay. Could I just borrow your model? Can everyone see this beautiful model? Can I ask everyone to have a look at this beautiful model? Isn't it a beautiful model? It took all, 2 minutes to create, right? Yeah. And what happens if I do this? Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. You are feeling brave.
There's a reason why I did that, of course. I didn't just want to attack some poor woman and say, well, there you go, I'm crushing your model. The whole point of that is just to recognize that we've taken maybe 2 minutes to create a model and we've invested our time and energy, our creativity into it. What happens if we've written a policy that's taken weeks and weeks and weeks, and then you take it to your colleague and they rip it to shreds? How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with that. Cool.
Yeah, well, some people may be able to take it, but not everyone can. Oh, yeah, okay, there we go. Is that better? Yeah, nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's just recognizing that when you create stuff, we invest a lot of time and energy into it. And when you bring people together to create stuff, then they really own it, right? They really own it. And so when you use things like Lego, or even if it's just pen and paper, Post-its, that kind of stuff, they're investing their time, energy, heart, and soul into it. If they feel that they've got a meaningful contribution to make, if they've been given an opportunity to shape how they see the world and how they see the future and how they create their future together. So that's why I deliberately crushed that model. So, going to move into the next part of the process, which is about metaphors and using metaphors. So back to this little yellow brick that I was holding up a moment ago. So we're going to use a bit of creative thinking in a moment. And metaphors can be used in lots of ways. And this little brick can be a metaphor for anything. It could be the sun. It could be the beach. You know, it's got a nice slopey bit there. Could be a shoe. Could be the daffodils of Wales. Could be Wales itself. Could be summer school. It could be anything you want it to be. So you don't need to have really dexterous hands or build a literal model of what you're trying to create. It can represent anything you want. A single piece can have multiple overlaid metaphors. So in a bit, we're going to use a little bit of improv to keep things exciting and to use and to learn how to use Lego using metaphors. So what we'll do is I want you to recycle your bricks. That is, break it all down to individual components again. Yes, you're not happy about it, I know, but we don't have all the logo. So if you can break it all the way back down to individual components, so you have them laid out in front of you. So if you've got flags, take the flags to pieces again, just break it all the way down, back to the individual components. See, there's some rebels, and that's okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is I'm going to ask you to select 5 random bricks and connect them in any random way. Just pick up 5 random bricks. Everything is called a brick. So whether it's a flag, it's a brick. So pick up 5 random bricks and then stick them together any random way you want. Okay, we've got our bricks randomly collated. You can still hear a little bit of clicking, bricks clicking together. Okay, sounds like the clicking's mostly stopped. So what I want you to do, starting my left, your right, so on this side, working your way around the table, select a number, 1 through to the highest number on the table. There can only be one number 1, one number 2, etc. So unique numbers, 1 through to 8 or 9. I think there's 8 or 9 people per table. So just agree which number you're going to represent. On you go. Okay, has everyone got a number? Is everyone clear what their number is? Okay, everyone who's number 1, put your hands up. Number 1's hands up. Okay, number 2's hands up. 3s, 4s, 5s, etc. Okay, you're clear on that, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a word or a phrase, and I want you to I want you to use that model to explain that word or phrase. So use every bit of your 5-piece model to explain the word or phrase. You're going to have 30 seconds at the most. It is a bit of improv. It is a bit of excitement, a bit of fun. It's just to try things out and get the creative juices flowing. And at the end of each person speaking for 30 seconds, you're going to give them a round of applause. So you're going to have that round of applause. And if you kind of come a stuttering halt after 15 seconds, that's okay too. Your colleagues will give you a round of applause. Okay? Is everyone ready? So number ones, are you ready? And this is where our saying, some people are like, meh. So remember, this is, I said earlier, some of the words and some of the concepts and ideas that I talked to a few of you last night are now going to start coming up. So who wants to guess what the first word may be? Wiffle ball. Wiffle ball. Build using, so explain your model, point at it, describe wiffle ball using your model. On you go, 30 seconds, have it. Okay. Number twos, are you ready for your word? Okay, number twos, your word is, I pressed the button, try again. AI. Seen some lovely demonstrations of people pointing at their model, describing each bit of it as they use the metaphor and explain the metaphor using their model. So that's well done, well done. So number threes, are you ready? Number threes, what word do we have for you today? What dogs think? Okay, it looks like the tables. Oh, well done. Well done. Okay, number fours, are you ready for your word? What word will we have? Will it be as silly or maybe a little bit more serious? What comes up? Forest. Forest. Now that word, of course, came up because I was speaking to someone who is wearing a lot of Nottingham Forest gear, right? Yeah. There we go. So what is the next one? Number five. Number five. Are you ready, number fives? Hopefully haven't escaped out the door. Come on. A chicken. A chicken. Come on. So I just want to pause at this point. Just want to pause. So who was building chickens in this round? Who was yeah, so can you just hold up your model? If it physically looks like a chicken, hold it up. Yeah? Did you know I was going to ask you to build a chicken? No. Yeah. Most of you don't. I think one or two of you have experienced this with me before. So you may have known a chicken was coming, but you didn't know it was going to be number five. So I'm always amazed of the serendipity of these things, where I'll say a chicken and someone will have literally built something that looks physically like a chicken just at the same time. I'm always amazed. It's about 80 to 90% strike rate every time I do this. Right, so number six. Are we ready, number six? Okay. Okay, number six, your word or phrase is space travel. Okay, I think all the tables have completed number six. So number seven, are we ready as number sevens? Lucky number sevens, what do you get? You get Monday morning. How do you feel about Monday morning? Looks like all the tables are completed. Bless you. Number 8. Is everyone ready for number 8? I like the way everyone goes quiet. What will it be? Dad dancing. Bit of that happened last night, right? I think we're all done on number 8. Number 8. How many tables have a number 9? Can I just see hands? Number 9s? Okay, a few tables. So number 9s, yours is my children. All right, if everyone's finished number 9, there's no 10s at the table, is there? Just want to check, no 10s? Okay, so it's only 9 was the maximum. So this is your 2 minutes as a table, just to reflect on that process. What did you learn about the person? What did you learn about the model, the stories? Just have a chat, what's common, what's different, all that kind of good stuff. Just for 2 minutes, On you go. Okay, let's bring those conversations to a pause for the moment. We're going to move into the next part of the skills builds before we actually get into the challenge. So what I want you to do is I want you to recycle your bricks back down to the individual components again, please. Recycle your bricks all the way back down to individual components. While you do that, so the difference between a metaphor and a story is that a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's a main insight or point to your story. So I'm going to give you a challenge that you're going to build, and you need to create a story around that challenge this time. Remember, you just learning from the skills that you've developed so far, the technical skills of putting things together, the metaphorical skills of overlaying metaphors and ideas onto one or more bricks so that it can mean so many different things. And now we're going to build a story about the model that you create. Has everyone got it back down to the individual bricks? Fantastic. So, there you go. Build a model of your dream holiday. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to build that dream holiday. Some of you may not have used these longer pieces. If you got a spare one on the table, it may be useful to use it as a pointing stick to your model, and you can hand it around the table. So when you're telling your story, you can point at the different parts of the model that describe the story. It's a nice little handy device. So I'll put it back on the table. Okay, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds, and then we'll have to pause and start the storytelling. I see photographs being taken. By all means, take as many photographs as your Legos you want. Yeah. There we go. That's looking like a speedboat to me. Maybe it's a hovercraft. Does the person know? Okay. All right, I'm going to pause us there. If you can just pause in your build, if you're still building, you'll have a chance to improve if you need to. But right now, we need to start the storytelling process. So I'm going to give you a little bit more time. Oh, actually, I'm going to give you, let's say 60 seconds each. You don't need to use all 60 seconds, of course, to tell your story. Each person will have up to 60 seconds, and as usual, before it's applause at the end of it. Would love you to try and describe every part of the model that you've built and tell the story of that model that's about your dream holiday. You can nominate who wants to go first. So who's going to go first at each table? Just put up your hand so we're just very really clear. There we go. Yep. Okay. And then the person who's put up their hand can then nominate the next person, and so on, okay? So you keep things going. Or you can decide a different process. It's up to you. So, ready, steady, bake.
If I pose you with a bag of Lego, just holding it here, and I can get the guys behind you. Is that all right?
What, like this?
Face me, hold it like that. Hold it sort of up like that. I can see the colours, both hands.
Okay.
I can get you and the guys behind.
Okay.
Brilliant. Well done.
With a smile. You'll know.
There we go.
That's a thing of beauty. Nice. Nice. It looks like it's one or two more left, and then we'll move into the next section. Some of these dream holidays seem to be really extensive. Nice. Yeah, it's a lifetime of holidays, it sounds like. Are we there? Do we have any more left? Is there any tables? One more there? Any others? Any other tables still got one? No, I think there's just one more table left, so we'll just give them their 30 seconds or so, and then we'll move on. Was that our last? Everyone's completed their dream holiday? Okay, so again, it's the same reflection as the table. Spend 2 minutes just reflecting on what you've heard about other people's dreams holidays. What have you learnt about them? What further insight have you gained? What did you like about their holidays? Were there common holidays on your tables? Just have a bit of a chat about that for 2 minutes now, and then I'll ask a couple of plenary questions, and then we'll move on into the next stage. Okay, so 2 minutes from now.
Some distraction in the background behind you. The Lego game? Sorry. You'll be getting used to this.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's pause the conversations there, and if I can have everyone's attention to the front. Can pause the conversations there, please, so I can have everyone's attention to the front. What I'd like to hear from people is who had a skiing holiday? Who had a skiing holiday? A dream holiday, maybe skiing. Was it snow skiing? Maybe even water skiing. I don't mind. It could be skiing of any type. Water skiing was a thing in warmer countries. It does happen here as well, I see. What about a beach holiday, just sitting on the beach? Yeah, nice. Mountains, anyone? Mountains? Yeah, so all different types of holidays. Yeah, fantastic. No, good stuff. So the whole purpose of this core process is it's not random, it's deliberate, because what we're doing through that skills build in this process is we're adding additional complexity each time and nudging you into more and more uncomfortable spaces so that you get used to working in ambiguity, used to working with more and more complex things as you build the story of your model. So there's a whole reason behind that. That's why we have this process and why we take you through it. So we don't just throw you into Lego and say build. We're deliberately doing this because it's helping you and training your brain in some respects to work in a particular way. So next bit, this is the challenge. This is to help you make sense of all that you've learned so far this week, okay? So I think we've got about 16 tables in the room. So I would like, I'm going to separate you into zones. So can I have these tables, make it those tables there. So this table here and everywhere to the right, zone number 3, okay? You're going to be zone number 3. And zone number 1, I think will be sort of, those tables, these two, and the one at the back, okay? So zone number 1, put your hands up. Okay. Zone number 2, you should know who you are. Okay. Zone number 3, fantastic. Okay, you know your zones. You're going to have a challenge question that's unique to your zone. I'm deliberately doing this because I want you to go have a conversation with the other tables over lunch to learn what they did and learn from their particular models that they've built, okay? Hopefully it'll make sense in a second. So I'll split you up into zones. You're going to build according to the number that's against the challenge. So number 1, zone 1, number 2, zone 2, number 3, zone 3, etc. Okay. Here is your challenge. What will connected or collaborative or courageous leadership look like in your organization? So see, it's what will. So this is future tense. This is giving you a chance to think about how does it need to show up in my organization? What am I going to bring into that? So it's about what will connected or collaborative or courageous leadership look like in your organization? So this is a chance to, all that you've learned from this week, to now start distilling it into a model that you can tell a story about. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, a fair amount of time to start building and thinking about it. Okay. 5 minutes begins. Individually.
One model per table or one model per
One model per person, so it's your model that you're building from your experiences of this week. You're building your individual model of your experiences this week. Remember all that you've learned so far. Don't have a meeting with yourself or with others. Just start putting things together with your hands and then iterate it as needs be. Could you just have the slide back up again of the tasks, please, on the main screen? There you go, just to remind people. If you're zone 1, what will connected leadership look like? Zone 2, what will collaborative leadership look like? Zone 3, what will courageous leadership look like in your organization? You should be building your own individual model in response to that question. You're about halfway through now. about a minute and a half left. Okay, you got 15 seconds. 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pens down, so to speak, if this was an exam. So let us just pause there in our building so we can move into the storytelling bit. Same again, 60 seconds per person or up to 60 seconds. Tell the story of your model about what connected or collaborative or courageous leadership looks like to you in your organization. On your marks, get set, go.
Within my organisation. Complicated.
So essentially, pioneers taking care of the public.
The two bits outside here are the arts, the outside partners we work with and the stakeholders, but we're all in there together. We're all kind of, you can be inward facing, you can be outward facing, so you can face
celebrating all the time. There'll be like goals, there'll be mentors, and the seeds of our work will flower, so they will blossom. So I think this is connected leadership utopia. I like it.
All right, I think we're all done now. Looks like we're all done. Okay, so same as before. Going to give you a few minutes to have a conversation amongst yourselves about what you've learned from each other, about each other's models, what's inspired you, what do you think that could mean for you in your position, in your organization, your team. So have a few minutes to have that conversation at your tables. And then there's one last task, which is a so what out of this. Okay, one last task out of this is a so what. Have that conversation at your tables for a few minutes. What time are we supposed to finish this?
11. So I think if we wrap up
The
now.
countdown is 1 minute to go, just so I was just checking. Do you mind if I take a little bit? I'm going to give you 1 more minute to finalize your conversations at your tables, just noticing the time. Okay, let's just pause those conversations where you are. You'll have a break in a moment that'll allow you to continue your conversations. But I just want to set you a little task for you to do in your own time. Because what I would love you to do is to continue reflecting on that model that you created around collaborative or connected or courageous leadership. And the task I have for you, your homework, if you choose to do it, is to reflect on your model and what you've heard from others. So now's the time to take a photograph of your model, because it's going to be hard to transport at home. I see some of them are quite exquisite, but quite tenuous. So you may need to take a photograph of it to remind yourself. And here's a few questions that you can ask yourself about your model. What does this mean for how you lead? Where's the growth for yourself? What does it mean for how your team works and operates? What do you need from them for you to lead well? What does this mean for how your organization operates? How do you need to work with your peers, those who are senior, partners outside of your organization that may have different perspectives? take notes, whether it's on Post-its or mobile phones. Maybe you like an audio record of something in your conference book learning, just to reflect on. Now, what you'll also notice on the tables is there's a number of Ziploc bags. I know not everyone will want to take the Lego home, but you're most welcome to take all the Lego home. It is yours. So just want to say thank you very much for participating in this session. It's been a pleasure working with you today.